Imagine this for a second. You're a filmmaker. You're passionate, maybe a little obsessive. You've packed all your camera gear, you've prepped your bike, and you've flown thousands of miles to Azerbaijan.
For the World Climate Conference.
Exactly. You're there to document the cutting edge of the transport transition. You've ridden 5,000 kilometers, you've fought off wild dogs, camped in snow, sweated through 40-degree heat,
Yeah.
and then you're standing in Baku. And you look at the traffic and you get this sinking pit in your stomach feeling.
Yeah.
You went the wrong way.
That is the definition of a hard learn.
Right. And that is how our source material begins today. We're looking at a film called Cycling Cities by Ingvar Peruanovic. And his hook is just brilliant. He realizes he's not going to find the future of transport in Azerbaijan.
So he goes in the complete opposite direction.
The complete opposite direction.
Yeah.
A year later, he packs up and rides 2,000 kilometers from Freiburg, Germany, all the way up to Copenhagen.
It's a classic quest narrative, really. But instead of a holy grail, he is searching for the livable city. He wants to know if these places we hear about, where cars aren't king, if they're just, a fantasy, or if they're real, replicable.
Exactly. And the mission for this deep dive is to figure out how they did it. Because I think a lot of us look at a city like Amsterdam and we just think, oh, well, sure, that's for them. They're Dutch.
Right. That could never happen here.
But Ingvar's journey shows it's not some kind of magic. It's not just culture. It's hard policy, it's budget, and as we'll see, a whole lot of imagination.
And this isn't just for cyclists listening. This is about urban planning, political courage. It's about how your daily environment affects your quality of life. We're going to get into underwater parking garages, removed highways.
And designing a city from the height of a toddler.
Exactly.
Okay, let's get into it. He starts in Germany, but the first major stop that really, it blew my mind is Paris. And the thing that gets me is the speed of it.
It's breathtaking, really.
Paris used to be a nightmare.
Oh, a total nightmare. For decades, it was the definition of a car-choked city. If you tried to cycle there 20 years ago, you were taking your life into your hands.
Right.
But the film shows that under Mayor Anne Hidalgo, the change has been incredibly fast.
The numbers are wild. In just 10 years, they went from basically zero cycling to almost 15% modal share.
Which is huge.
And just to clarify for everyone, modal share is just the percentage of all trips, right? Commuting, shopping.
Exactly. 15% of all movement in the city is now on a bike. And they're not done. They're aiming for 25, 30%.
The footage of the Rue de Rivoli is incredible. I remember it as this 7-lane traffic jam.
Yeah.
Just honking exhaust.
And now it's just cyclists, thousands of them. The first thing you notice is the sound.
The lack of it.
Yes, the roar is gone. It's just the whir of wheels and bells.
Okay, but this is where I have to be the skeptic.
Yeah.
You can't just take away a 7-lane road and expect people to be happy. The backlash must have been insane.
Oh, you are spot on. The backlash was fierce. There were protests, anger. The construction was a mess.
So how did the city government survive that?
Ingvar interviews the deputy mayor, Florent Curie, and he lays it out. He calls it the mandate strategy.
Which is what exactly? Just, I'm in charge, deal with it.
Not quite. It's being brutally honest before the election. Curie says they ran on a platform that explicitly said they would remove 50% of parking spaces.
50%. That sounds like political suicide.
You think so, right? But they put it in black and white. They didn't hide it. They said, we are going to take away your parking. And they won.
So that gave them the cover.
It gave them the legitimacy. When the disruption started, they could say, you voted for this. And here's the kicker. Air quality improved by 40%. Noise plummeted. And politically.
Let me guess. She won re-election.
With a larger margin than before.
Wow. Okay, so it proves you can restrict cars and still win. But I'm still stuck on the traffic. Doesn't it just clog up the other streets?
That's the intuitive thought. The waterbed theory, you push it down here, it pops up there. But there's this concept called evaporating traffic.
Evaporating traffic. That sounds like magic again.
It's behavioral economics. Curie explains the goal isn't to get rid of all cars, just the unnecessary trips. When driving is super easy, you drive everywhere. But if it becomes slightly less convenient, people switch.
the people who can switch do.
Exactly. The people who really need their car plumbers, delivery services, they still drive. But the casual traffic, it just evaporates. Car traffic dropped 10 to 15% in his district in a year.
Okay, so Paris is the shock and awe approach.
Yeah.
But then Ingvar gets to Ghent in Belgium, and what they did there sounds, well, like a labyrinth?
Ah, the traffic circulation plan. This is one of my favorite case studies because it's so clever. It's not about banning cars, it's about routing them.
Okay, break it down for me.
Imagine the city center is a pizza. They cut it into 6 slices, or zones.
Right.
Now, you can drive your car into any zone you want, and here's the brilliant part, you can't drive directly between zones.
Wait, so if I'm in Zone A, and the coffee shop I want is in Zone B, right across the street, I can't drive there.
Well, you can, but you have to drive out of your zone all the way out to the ring road around the city, drive along that, and then re-enter in Zone B.
That sounds incredibly annoying.
It is. For through traffic, that 200-meter trip becomes a 5-kilometer detour.
I'd be furious. And if I owned that coffee shop, wouldn't I be screaming that you're killing my business?
That was the fear. The papers predicted a ghost town. But what actually happened was the through traffic disappeared overnight. Car traffic dropped 30%.
Wow.
But people who wanted to actually be in the city, they still came. More came, in fact, because it became so pleasant.
What's the film show? What does pleasant look like?
It's sensory. Ingvar's just walking around and you can hear people talking, you hear laughter, bicycle bells. The constant low hum of engines is gone. And cycling's modal share jumped from 22 to 35%.
And the politicians got reelected.
Confirmed in office, it's the same story. The fear of change is high, but the reality is popular.
Okay, so we've got the speed of Paris, the cleverness of Ghent, but now we have to talk about the Netherlands. Ingvar crosses the border, and it's like a different world.
The Dutch gold standard. But this is where the film corrects a huge misconception. We all think Amsterdam was, always like this.
Yeah, I just assumed they were born on bikes.
Not at all. The film goes back to the 1970s. Amsterdam was completely car-centric. They were filling in canals to build roads. It was a mess.
Really?
And traffic deaths were skyrocketing. The turning point wasn't some government plan. It was a grassroots movement called Stop de Kindermoord.
Which means stop the child murder. That's heavy.
It was a heavy time. In 1971, over 400 children were killed by cars in the Netherlands. The film talks about kids actually protesting for play streets because it was too dangerous to play outside.
God, that's awful.
It was a tragedy, combined with the 1973 oil crisis, that really shifted the culture. It wasn't a given, it was a fight.
And that's so important to remember. It was a choice. Fast forward to today, and the infrastructure is just mind-blowing. This underwater bike garage.
At the main station in Amsterdam, yeah, it's an engineering marvel.
Yeah.
They drained the canal, built a garage for 7,000 bikes, and then put the water back on top.
7,000.
Yeah.
And the first 24 hours are free. It just shows a totally different set of priorities.
It does. But if you want to see the model perfected, the film takes us to Utrecht.
The image that stuck with me from Utrecht was the canal restoration. They turned this beautiful canal into a motorway.
The Catherine yeah. It was seen as progress back then. And recently they dug up the concrete and turned it back into a canal. It's this huge symbol of reversing car culture.
But Utrecht is also pushing policy in other ways.
They are. Let's talk about money. In most cities, street parking is cheap. In Utrecht, they argue that public space is valuable. If you want to store your private car on it, you have to pay the real price.
And how much are we talking?
A parking permit can cost over 640 euros a year.
Whoa, 640. I mean, in a city like Berlin, it's what, 10 euros?
Around 10, yeah. Utrecht is making an economic point. Why should taxpayers subsidize your car storage? It naturally discourages car ownership.
And he makes a quick stop in Houten, the Sim City of bike towns.
Houten is wild. It was designed from scratch with cars on an outer ring road. The entire inside of the town is just a network of paths. The bike is always the fastest option, by design.
It's the Get model, just baked in from the start. But we can't rebuild all our cities. Which brings us to the reality check when Ingvar gets back to Germany.
The mood just shifts, doesn't it?
It's palpable. He goes from these perfect protected Dutch paths to a line of white paint next to a truck.
He calls Germany the car country, and you feel that cultural resistance. The Senator for Transport in Hamburg, Andres Starks, seems like he's trying. He's building 60 kilometers of paths a year.
But it feels like swimming upstream.
He is. But he offers an interesting strategy for politicians. He talks about building alliances. Don't just fight for bike lanes. link it to urban planning, to the environment, to quality of stay. It broadens the appeal.
And speaking of pressure, this is where we get the most emotional argument of the film from the activist Katja Dial. She has this concept of the 90-centimeter perspective,
It's a brilliant way to frame it. Design cities from the height of a child.
which changes everything.
Everything. From 90 centimeters, a parked SUV is a wall. You can't see traffic. It's hostile. She says walking a child through a modern German city is like walking them through a tunnel of parked steel.
She also says something I found a bit controversial, though, that you don't always need a majority for safety measures.
Right, and this is where that debate comes in.
Exactly. I can hear people saying, hang on, this is a democracy. If people want to drive, they should be able to.
Her counter is to look at seatbelts or smoking bans. People hated them. They screamed about freedom. But her point is that politics sometimes has a duty to set guardrails for safety.
Like raising a child.
Exactly. You don't let your kid eat candy for dinner just because they voted for it.
It's a provocative thought. So, Ingvar survives Germany and makes it to the finale in Copenhagen.
And here it all becomes almost philosophical. Copenhagen has the amazing infrastructure like the snake bridge winding over the harbor. But the big takeaway comes from Marco T. Brummelstroet.
The bicycle professor. I want that job title.
Me too. His core message is that we're framing the debate wrong. It's not bikes versus cars. The real fight is public space versus transit. Meaning, are our streets just pipes to flush people from A to B as fast as possible, or are they places to be? The goal isn't just movement. It's creating places where people want to stay.
That connects to those free camping shelters he uses in Denmark. It's about the joy of the journey itself.
Precisely, and that's Ingvar's final conclusion. He says the barrier isn't hills, it isn't weather. I mean, Copenhagen isn't exactly a tropical paradise.
It was windy and rainy for half his trip.
Right, if weather was the issue, Rome would be the cycling capital, not Amsterdam. He says the only limit is our imagination, the ability to look at a street full of cars and see something else.
So let's wrap this up. We've gone from the shock therapy of Paris to the clever routing of Ghent, the historic struggle in the Netherlands, and the cultural fight in Germany.
In the common thread in every single success story is political will. Leaders who made a choice that was unpopular in the short term but paid off. They prioritized people over storing private vehicles.
And they proved that if you build it, they will come.
And, crucially, for any politician listening, you can win elections doing this. The fear of change is almost always worse than the change itself.
So here's our final thought for you. The next time you walk out your front door, or maybe you're sitting in traffic right now, stop and really look at your street.
In your mind, just strip away the parked cars, erase the moving traffic. You're left with this huge amount of open land right in front of your home.
What could that space be? A park, a playground, a community garden. The film suggests the engineering is the easy part. The hard part is believing it's possible to change it.
It's having that 90-centimeter perspective and the courage to reimagine the world right outside your window.
Thanks for taking this ride with us. It's been a fascinating deep dive.
A pleasure as always.
Catch you on the next one.
Virtual's me.